The Tyrannosaurus Rex, full after eating, is sleeping. The girl Teresa is startled and hurries to find a lifeboat. Father Ruben is anxious on the shore. She grits her teeth, opens the inflation valve, and pushes the life raft back into the river. After being woken up, the Tyrannosaurus Rex strolls leisurely to the other side to drink water. Teresa rows as hard as she can to the shore. The three of them hurriedly get on the boat, wanting to get away from this place. Unexpectedly, that Tyrannosaurus Rex actually chases after them. It plunges into the water, quickly catches up with the life raft, and then shakes its head, knocking the boat over. The Tyrannosaurus Rex swims downstream specifically to intercept them. Luckily, Ruben is quick-witted, and immediately dives into the water to swim away. But the youngest, Isabella, is still trapped under the life raft. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clamps down on the life raft with its mouth and lifts it into the air. Luckily, Isabella is small. She falls back into the river through a gap, and then swims desperately towards her father. The whole family is badly frightened. The life raft is also washed downstream. Everyone laughs through their tears, filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. It has to be said that this thing is of really good quality. Even the Tyrannosaurus Rex couldn't bite through it. But how can there be dinosaurs in the 21st century? Let's start from the beginning. On Essay, Hubert Island 17 years ago, in order to attract more tourists, a company instructed a creative laboratory to use genes from different animals to create a Tyrannosaurus Rex that should never have been born. One day, a scientist returned to the laboratory and accidentally dropped the tinfoil wrapping of a chocolate on the ground. Before anyone noticed, it was blown into the sealed laboratory. That small piece of tinfoil caused a great disaster, leading to mechanical failures in the laboratory. Sharp alarm sounds followed. The laboratory staff hurried to leave the scene, but the scientist, who arrived a step late, was trapped by the security door. Her companion was about to open the door to save her, but froze in place the next second, because the Tyrannosaurus Rex had already walked behind the scientist. For the safety of the base, the companion couldn't open the door and had to watch helplessly as the man was taken away by the dinosaur. Later, those behemoths from 65 million years ago began to multiply in large numbers, but the Earth's ecology was no longer suitable for dinosaurs to survive. Nowadays, the only remaining dinosaurs live in isolated tropical regions near the equator. There are only a handful in ordinary living areas. People live their busy lives as usual, having long been accustomed to the dinosaurs on the streets. A man in a suit even complains that these behemoths are causing him to be stuck in traffic. A woman named Zola is sitting in the man's car. From their conversation, it's known that a heart disease has broken out on Earth, and dinosaurs carry the code to resist the disease. Therefore, the man in the suit, Martin Krebs, on behalf of the pharmaceutical giant Parker Genetics, hires secret operations expert Zola Bennett, letting her lead an elite team to Hubert Island, where dinosaurs live, to obtain dinosaur gene samples. Of course, this place is a forbidden area that all countries in the world prohibit access to. If Zola acts carelessly, she may face criminal charges. Luckily, the price offered by Parker Genetics will dispel all her concerns. Martin leads Zola to meet Dr. Henry Loomis. He's the chief geneticist of Parker Genetics. He's also the core technical personnel for this gene collection mission on Essay, Hubert Island. Henry explains that we need to obtain genes from 3 types of dinosaurs: those living on land, in the sea, and in the air. Moreover, they must be large enough so that the coronary artery muscles in their hearts are suitable for research. Henry has already selected 3 types of dinosaurs. They are the Mosasaurus, Titanosaurus, and Quetzalcoatlus respectively. These 3 largest dinosaurs, living in the sea, on land, and in the air, contain the key ingredients to cure heart diseases. Each of them has an average lifespan far exceeding a century. Once a drug to resist heart disease is developed, the Parker Group will gain a value of trillions. But the difficulty of this mission lies in the fact that they must take blood samples while the dinosaurs are still alive, because hemoglobin loses oxygen within seconds after death. Lividity and darkening of the blood will happen immediately. Luckily, these species all exist in an isolated place. It's not that troublesome to take action. Mr. Parker has never tolerated being second, so they must act immediately. Martin takes the 2 of them to Paramaribo first, to seek help from a man named Duncan. This person is a retired Special Forces officer. He is calm, experienced, and has a sibling-like relationship with Agent Zola. He once partnered with her in war-torn areas for many years to carry out missions. In addition to Duncan, Zola also contacts an old friend named Bobby to assist in this operation. They plan to go to Barbados in advance to avoid government patrols while the ship is sailing. Martin points out that a dinosaur had a tracker implanted when it was captured. After it escaped, Ing Gene Company has been continuing to track it. The company filed for bankruptcy not long ago, and I bought their data, so now we can follow the trail of this dinosaur. it can be seen that this creature is also approaching the equator. The Earth's climate is already vastly different from that of the dinosaur age. Only the area near the equator has a climate almost the same as it was 60 million years ago. It's warmer there, with unusually abundant oxygen, and about 20 species of dinosaurs live there. Martin has prepared a neurotoxin for this purpose, which can paralyze a dinosaur's nerves within seconds. Duncan can't help but ask how the extraction work will be done. Martin takes out some specially made anesthetic needles to draw blood samples, but each one can only be used once. After all, the Mosasaurus has skin nearly 4 feet thick. Even with such a thick needle, it has to be within 10 meters to penetrate the dinosaur's skin. Once the blood sample is full, the anesthetic needle will automatically shoot up to hundreds of feet in the air like a rocket. At that time, a parachute will open to bring the needle back to us. Upon hearing this, Zola is ready to take on this task, but Henry says that remote biopsy injection is very basic, so let him handle it. Duncan breaks into a smile, looking forward to the fun. Zola, on the other hand, drags Henry to the bow and makes him look at the rolling waves below. Imagine the boat is rocking at an angle of 15 to 20 degrees, moving forward at 30 knots, and you're so close to that thing that you can see its teeth. Upon hearing this, Henry quickly hands over the injection gun. Forget it, you'd better do this job. Meanwhile, 47 miles to the south, Ruben's family is out at sea. On the boat are his eldest daughter Teresa, youngest daughter Isabella, and his future son-in-law Xavier, who is lying in bed. Ruben really doesn't like this young man. He and his daughter have been taking shifts for too long, and need to rest, so they ask Xavier to come and take the helm. But the latter can't help complaining. Can't we drop anchor and rest for a while? Ruben explains speechlessly, we only have a 15-meter anchor. It's 2,000 meters from here to the seabed. Do you think dropping anchor will work? Ruben doesn't want to continue the nonsense. He can hold on for another hour, but Xavier must take over after an hour. Just then, Teresa sees a huge creature moving east at the 1 o'clock direction. Moreover, it doesn't look like it has fins, so it's not a creature like a dolphin. As soon as the words are spoken, the boat begins to shake violently. Ruben asks his youngest daughter to take the helm, and ties a rope around himself to check near the sea surface. He finds an unexpectedly huge creature in the water. The creature swims close to the boat and easily capsizes it. Now the lazy Xavier is trapped in the cabin, and can't get out at all. Ruben tells him through the window to find the first aid kit. There's an emergency radio inside that can send out a distress call. At the same time, Teresa takes her sister and climbs onto the boat along the mast, because the cabin and deck have completely sunk. After finding the first aid kit, Xavier kicks the door open with great force. He holds onto the mast to avoid being washed away by the water stirred up by the huge creature. Xavier seizes the opportunity to surface, and hurries to swim towards the top of the boat, and the huge creature swims past, almost brushing against them. The three of them escape death and let out a sigh of relief. The next morning, Duncan goes to the cockpit, wakes up the driver who has slept soundly, and prepares to take over for him for a while. At this time, a faint sound comes from the radio. It turns out that someone 28 miles away sent a DSC signal, but it's in the opposite direction of their destination. Bobby thinks that instead of going to rescue, it's better to send the location to the Coast Guard and let them go to save people. After all, we are only 3 minutes away from the Mosasaurus now. Zola is very angry when she hears this. Those are living human lives. Anyway, the Mosasaurus has a tracker on it. If we can find it once, we can find it a second time. Comparing the two, saving people is definitely more important. Just then, the short-haired woman at the helm spots the Mosasaurus at 30 degrees on the port side. Martin immediately stands up and agrees with Bobby's opinion, but the boat belongs to Duncan, so naturally Duncan has the final say. He immediately orders the short-haired woman to change course and go to save people first. They did this because conditions at sea change in the blink of an eye, and the longer the delay, the slimmer the chance of survival. The despairing Ruben, seeing a boat approaching, quickly stands up, fires a flare, and keeps waving at the approaching vessel. After being rescued, Ruben recounts the process of his ordeal. The creature that capsized their boat must have been at least 70 feet long. It also has a large skull, a long snout, and limbs like paddles. From this description, it must be a Mosasaurus without a doubt. But why would it attack a 45-foot sailboat? Henry speculates that the Mosasaurus probably mistook the boat for a competitor and wanted to protect its territory. Now that the people have been rescued, Martin just wants to get the mission back on track as soon as possible. They check the tracking signal again, only to find that the Mosasaurus is right below the boat. The next second, a shrill alarm sounds. Ruben is terrified when he hears it. Martin and the others immediately get ready for collection. Henry, a dinosaur enthusiast, forgets the danger and runs out to observe. The Mosasaurus swims alongside their boat. Zola runs to the bow with the injection gun in hand, and secures herself to the deck. She has to wait until the range shortens to 10 meters before firing. Duncan carefully steers the boat closer to the target. The distance quickly shortens to 15 meters, but the Mosasaurus suddenly dives underwater and then leaps up. The huge waves it stirs up rush toward Zola, causing her to fire by mistake and waste a dose of the anesthetic needle. Zola hurriedly asks Henry to get another syringe, and he quickly loads it for her, but before Zola can fire, the Mosasaurus suddenly rams into the boat. Luckily, Zola is tied with a safety rope, otherwise, she would definitely have been knocked into the sea. Henry pulls her back onto the deck. Zola quickly regains her composure, seizes the opportunity, and shoots the Mosasaurus in the body. The blood sample is quickly collected and ejects into the air. Duncan immediately adjusts course to approach the parachute, helping Henry successfully obtain the biopsy sample. Everyone celebrates joyfully, but Henry has a long gestating idea. He doesn't want to hand over the sample to the Parker Group, such an unscrupulous company, even if it develops a life-saving drug, will set the price sky high. Ordinary patients simply can't afford it. In Henry's view, science belongs to everyone, but Zola doesn't thinking so much. She just wants to finish this job and get a high reward. On the other side, Teresa, who is leaning against the window in a daze, suddenly finds that they are surrounded by dinosaurs. Henry excitedly shouts that this is a symbiotic relationship between species. They are helping the Mosasaurus surround the prey. Upon hearing this, Bobby picks up the neurotoxin gun and fires wildly, successfully repelling several dinosaurs.
Bobby, look out!
The dinosaur grabs Bobby in its mouth and swims away, before Zola and the others can find a way to save their companion. The Mosasaurus lurking in the deep sea leaps up. Huge waves cause the ship to shake violently. The little girl Isabella almost falls into the sea. Luckily, Reuben pulls his daughter in time, and drags her back to the deck in the nick of time. Duncan quickly turns the ship towards the island. He estimates that these huge creatures can't enter shallow waters, but by the same token, Duncan's ship can't avoid the shallow water rocks either. Zola and the others immediately go to get life-saving equipment, planning to jump into the sea before hitting the rocks. Reuben can tell that these people are unreliable, and have no intention of returning to the port at all. With a leg injury, he can only instruct his eldest daughter to continue calling for help via the radio, preferably 3 times, and set the coordinates. Martin hears this and rushes to stop her. Their operation mustn't be discovered by the police. During their tussle, Teresa is pushed off the deck. She clings tightly to the ship's wall for help, but Martin turns a blind eye. He watches helplessly as the girl is swept away by the waves. The injured Reuben is helpless. In the nick of time, Xavier jumps into the sea to chase after Teresa, who has been swept away. Reuben is very shocked. He didn't expect Xavier to be so reliable at such a critical time. Seeing that the ship is about to hit the rocks, Reuben is determined to get away from these people, so he and his youngest daughter put on life jackets and jump into the water. Zola wants to stop them, but it's too late. The dinosaurs under the ship start to cause trouble, deliberately pushing them near the rocks. Zola quickly squats down to avoid the collision. Without delay, Duncan stabilizes the ship, and tells everyone to jump into the sea to escape. The ship scrapes against the rocks and rushes onto the beach. On the other side, Xavier catches up with Teresa. Luckily, she is safe and sound. Teresa tells her boyfriend that someone on the ship deliberately knocked her into the sea. As soon as she finishes speaking, Reuben swims over with his youngest daughter. The whole family is finally reunited. They swim to the shore to find an exit. Martin mentioned earlier that there's a village nearby. Reuben wants to try his luck. Several people climb through the grotto and look at the beautiful scenery in front of them, feeling a shock that makes them think even dying here would be worthwhile. At the same time, Martin, Zola, and others swim ashore, and the short-haired woman is dragging supplies forward. A small dinosaur suddenly rushes from behind, grabs her in its mouth and swims back to the deep sea. Zola increasingly feels that these dinosaurs are abnormal. Why do they have such strong aggression towards humans? She threatens Martin to tell the truth. The latter has to confess that this island is actually a laboratory someone used to conduct species hybridization research here, because the owner of the theme park thought that people had long been tired of things that never change, so he wanted to create some new things through genetic modification. The consequence was that the experimental base was attacked, and has long been abandoned, but those genetically mutated chimeras were left on this island. Therefore, the dinosaurs here are far more ferocious than those in the urban area. Zola cuts through the safety net and goes deep into the island. She comforts everyone not to worry too much. Before setting off, Zola hired an evacuation team to monitor the radio frequency of Duncan's ship at all times. If there's no news from them within 24 hours, the evacuation team will fly over for reconnaissance at sunset the next day. Martin said that the village on the southwest ridge has a helicopter pad, The team will hover there for 2 minutes, and leave if no one appears, so everyone must find a high ground before the sun sets the next day. At this point, Ruben finds some chemical pipelines with warnings that there are pressurized liquids. They feel warm to the touch. That means there's geothermal energy nearby, and following them will definitely lead to the village. He tells everyone to find a stick to scout the way. Isabella pulls a stick in the haystack, and unexpectedly pulls out a small dinosaur that is eating grass. Luckily, herbivores are relatively docile. Teresa drives it into the depths of the forest, and continues on her way. Zola doesn't know the situation of these 4 people and is worried. After all, Ruben is still leading 2 children. Hopefully, he can find the village here. The group wades through a waist-deep river, and moves forward with difficulty. Henry explains that according to satellite images, the Titanosaurus group has been staying in the Central Valley. We should be able to get there before dawn. On the way, Zola can't help but ask Martin if he was also at the scene when Teresa had the accident. Why didn't you save that girl? Martin lies that the situation was urgent, and he didn't react in time.
If I find out otherwise, though, we'll leave you here and you can rejoin the food chain.
As soon as they climb to the shore, an unknown creature dart past in the water. Martin clings tightly to Zola, trembling with fear. In contrast, Henry treats the whole mission like a spring outing. He enthusiastically introduces the Titanosaurus and Quetzalcoatlus. One is an 11-ton sauropod dinosaur, and the other is a pterosaur with a 30-foot wingspan, as big as a truck. Martin goes to get water halfway through the introduction. Unexpectedly, he fishes out a string of military dog tags from the river. 2 drops of dew fall on the back of his hand. He looks up and sees that the owner of the dog tags has long since turned into a skeleton, sitting in an abandoned helicopter with a gun still in hand. Martin picks up a branch and pokes at the gun. The others don't notice his little action. As night fell, Ruben and his 2 daughters find a place to rest. Xavier, who has slept enough earlier, takes charge of keeping watch. Ruben first thanks him for saving Teresa and apologizes for his prejudice. It turns out that he is indeed a good young man. Xavier feels like crying upon hearing this, and quickly makes an excuse to go to the bathroom. As soon as he leaves, Isabella quietly opens her eyes, and throws her snacks to the small herbivorous dinosaur. After eating its fill, this little guy lies down beside Isabella, and falls into a deep sleep. Xavier is taking off his pants to relieve himself. At this point, 2 dinosaurs are approaching step by step. Luckily, the huge creatures aren't interested in Xavier, and leaves the jungle with their prey. The next morning, Zola and her group arrive near the Titanosaurus colony. Although they are herbivores, there might be species here that hunt titanosaurs, so the group is very cautious. At this point, a slender tail suddenly flicks out of the meter-high grass, then a long neck emerges. 2 titanosaurs are nuzzling each other. Henry approaches, fascinated, and reaches out to touch this magical species. The sacred feeling almost brings tears to his eyes. Zola sets up the anesthetic needle, and successfully injects it into the Titanosaurus body. The sampling is quickly completed, and Duncan goes to catch the parachute. Everyone watches the giant dragons leave in fascination, filled with countless emotions, but time is limited, and they have to hurry to find the last target, the Quetzalcoatlus. At the same time, Ruben's family is also moving forward. Isabella even puts the little dinosaur in her school bag, planning to take it home and raise it. Suddenly, Xavier steps empty and slides down the slope, and the other 3 quickly follow. They tumbles all the way down to the grass below. The little dinosaur, for some reason sensing a dangerous smell, suddenly runs away with its tail between its legs. Teresa pushes aside the branches and looks ahead, only to find a bridge not far away. There's also a small boat moored nearby. Since Ruben's leg injury hasn't healed, Teresa swims to the other side to push the bridge. She unexpectedly finds a huge dinosaur corpse nearby. A small Dilophosaurus is feeding on it. When it sees Teresa, it immediately issues a warning, but it flees the next second, because there's a dangerous giant behind Teresa. One can tell it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex from its short arms. Ruben is anxiously waving his hands on the other side. Teresa quickly runs into the warehouse where the boat is stored. She is lucky to find that in addition to the wooden boat, there's also an emergency life raft inside. Teresa drags the life raft away. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, full after eating, is sleeping. What happens next is the scene at the beginning of the film, where Ruben's family is chased by the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Zola and the others have already climbed onto a vertical rock slab, because pterosaurs like to build their nests at high places the most. Sampling from adult ones isn't very realistic. After all, the flying pterosaurs are flying carnivores, with a size comparable to that of an F-16. They can only find a pterosaur egg for sampling. Several people tie the safety ropes and jump down. Although their movements look very cool, Henry can't help but feel weak in the legs. The 3 who come down first find an ancient temple on the rock wall. There are several pterosaur eggs hidden in the haystacks inside. Henry inserts the anesthetic needle into the dinosaur egg. He must be careful not to damage the egg sac, so that the hatching of the dinosaur won't be affected. Seeing how carefully he handles it, Zola can't help but ask, what other options do we have? Besides handing over the genes to Parker Corporation, Henry replies, of course. We can make it open source and share it with the world, so that everyone can jointly develop this medicine. No one will hold the patent, everyone can access it, and tens of millions of lives will be saved because of it. As soon as he finishes speaking, the mother pterosaur returns. The lookout pilot doesn't have time to stop it. Zola and Henry quickly hide in the depths of the temple, but the anesthetic needle is accidentally left where it was. The pilot throws stones into the grotto to distract the pterosaur, then shouts loudly for Duncan's help. The latter quickly pulls up the safety rope to prevent the pilot from being bitten by the pterosaur, but unluckily, the dinosaur's claws get tangled in Henry's safety rope and drag him outside the temple. Luckily, Zola reacts quickly and manages to grip the stone wall and pull Henry up, but the anesthetic needle falls onto the stone steps below. Henry grabs the rope and swings over to pick up the anesthetic needle. The unlucky pilot can't escape in time, and is picked up by the pterosaur, which swallows him. Duncan and Martin hurriedly crawl into a grotto entrance covered by haystacks. At the same time, Henry's rope is about to snap. He finally grabs the anesthetic needle, but accidentally triggers the launch mechanism. Then the hemp rope breaks into two pieces, and Henry falls off the cliff. After being buffered by the rainforest leaves, he plops into the water. Zola and the others avoid the pterosaur and quickly follow down. They heave a sigh of relief when they see he's safe and sound. The egg liquid sample also slowly falls to the ground. So far, the 3 biopsy samples have been collected. They immediately head to the helicopter pad, but there's no sign of Ruben's family. Zola looks around and finds human footprints on the ground. She then searches everywhere for people. Ignoring Martin's obstruction, she indeed finds Ruben's family. Teresa gets angry as soon as she sees Martin, and immediately accuses him of being the one who pushed her into the sea. But Martin has a gun in his hand, so no one dares to act rashly. He threatens Zola to hand over the sample box, then advises Teresa to calm down and wait for the helicopter. Anyway, you're not dead, why bother with these things? The most important thing now is to leave here as soon as possible. As soon as he finishes speaking, the abandoned experimental village suddenly regains power and lights up. A dinosaur darts out of the woods. Xavier and the others hide in the supermarket at the back and lock the door. Another dinosaur breaks through the roof and gets in. Isabella hurriedly hides in the refrigerator with the little dinosaur. Ruben takes the chance to throw things to distract the large dinosaur. Isabella stoops and runs back to her family. The 4 of them hide in the supermarket sewer. Unexpectedly, it's very spacious here. At this point, outside the supermarket, Zola and Martin are hiding under a car. The latter keeps shooting at the dinosaurs outside, while protecting the sample box. At the same time, Duncan and Henry also find a place to hide. They accidentally find the laboratory, where radical genetic modification was once carried out. Henry sees that there's a tunnel system in the base, running through the whole island. No wonder the sewer just now is so spacious. The console also shows that there's a tunnel leading directly to the sea, and the lifeboat is parked nearby. As soon as the words are spoken, the sound of a helicopter is heard overhead. Duncan asks Henry to find a way to attract the pilot's attention, while he goes to look for the kids. But as soon as Duncan leaves, a huge dinosaur flies past one side of the laboratory. Henry holds his breath and escapes from the scene as soon as possible. On the other side, Martin hears the sound of the helicopter, immediately pulls out the key and gets into the car. He drives away without caring about Zola's safety. Zola has to hide in the nearby grass. She sees the dinosaur crawl totally into the sewer, guessing there's something special inside. She follows and crawls in too. Henry runs to the watchtower and fires a flare. The helicopter sees the signal, and immediately turns around to fly over. At this point, a dark shadow flashes past in the dark. By the time Henry tries to warn the helicopter, it's already too late. This mutated Distortus Rex has unprecedented combat power. Duncan calls Henry to hide in the underground tunnel together. He has just found Ruben's family, and now it's impossible to escape by helicopter. They has to follow the tunnel to find that small boat. At that time, Martin is also on his way to the pier. Now it's a race to see who will find the boat first. In the tunnel, Zola quickly meets up with Duncan and the others, and shoots to drive away the pursuing dinosaurs. It's true that Martin is in such a hurry to run, that he actually leaves his gun behind. The group guesses that Martin will also go to the pier, so they quicken their pace toward the end of the tunnel. But there's a large iron gate ahead, and the control panel is outside the gate. Seeing that the dinosaur is already catching up, the exit is within sight, but they can't escape. In the nick of time, Isabella takes off her school bag and squeezes out. through the iron gate. Unluckily, as soon as she opens the door, the Distortus Rex catches up. Luckily, Martin's car attracts its attention, and Zola and the others take the opportunity to approach the boat. The next second, half of Martin's body is chewed to pieces. Zola picks up the sample box and joins the others. Unexpectedly, the equipment for launching the boat gets stuck in the nick of time. The Distortus Rex is attracted by the light and walks toward Isabella. Duncan hurriedly pulls out a flare to distract the giant beast. He jumps into the water with that light, sacrificing himself to lead the Distortus Rex away. Zola has no time to grieve, manages to lower the boat, and the group starts the engine to escape the island. Zola shouts Duncan's name, unwilling to give up. Unexpectedly, this lucky guy is still alive. The group drives the boat to pick up Duncan, and heads for a safe place. In the end, Zola decides to make the gene open source to benefit more humans. The movie ends here. It's like a Universal Studios amusement ride. The sense of oppression brought by the dinosaurs is really too weak. The plot where the little girl tames a young Styracosaurus completely turns the sense of awe for dinosaurs as dangerous predators into a childish pet-raising game. It's really ridiculous that the Tyrannosaurus Rex attacked repeatedly, but couldn't even bite through an inflatable boat. This kind of deliberately created thrills is completely based on weakening the threat of dinosaurs and making the characters overpowered, but the special effects are quite good, and the whole movie is tightly paced. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.